Hi, everyone, and welcome to Squawking with Seagull, a fitness talk show for college students hosted by a college student. And I'm that college student, Nick Seagull, otherwise known as Seagull Strength. If you're interested in more great fitness related content, make sure you check out my website, www.seagullstrength.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at Seagull_strength, and that's Seagull spelled like the bird. Today, for our very first episode of Squawking with Seagull, and also the meals segment of the series, I'm going to be hosting a debate between my two good friends, RJ and Marib, on the topic of supplements. RJ and Marib are both college students that I met at Stony Brook University on Long Island. Marib is currently a junior at Stony, while RJ has since transferred to Union College in upstate New York. Both of them have an interest in the world of fitness and health, and have each experimented with taking various supplements themselves. However, neither of them has any professional background in the topic of supplements, as they're simply college students like you and me. They have each been spending the past couple of weeks doing their own research into various supplements in order to develop their arguments. RJ, after doing his research, has decided to provide warnings against supplement use, showing how they, when taken incorrectly or in large doses, can lead to direct or indirect organ failure. Marib has decided to instead focus on the benefits of various supplements and how, when taken correctly, there are many benefits that can improve both your workout and your everyday life. I personally don't know much about supplements, and I don't even personally take many supplements myself. I've never found a personal need for pre-workout, as I usually find enough energy for working out from high-carb meals, and I'm already plenty addicted to caffeine thanks to the sleep deprivation that college causes, so I probably don't need much more. I do, however, take a BCAA supplement or branched chain amino acid before I work out, as I found that these BCAAs are extremely beneficial with muscle recovery and reducing soreness. Just a quick basic overview of BCAAs for those who are unfamiliar. As I said, they stand for branched chain amino acids and includes three amino acids: leucine, isoleucine, and valine. And these amino acids, your body's unable to produce these amino acids on their own, so that you therefore must obtain them through your diet, whether that be through food or through supplements. The three amino acids account for 35% of the essential amino acids found in muscle proteins, which kind of makes sense because then they've also been shown to help inhibit both muscle protein breakdown as well as increase muscle growth. However, it's important to mention that there have been studies that show that whey protein that already contains these essential BCAAs is 50% more effective at increasing muscle growth than just the BCAAs alone. The main reason I started taking BCAAs was to reduce muscle soreness. I started doing this split last spring called German volumetric training, otherwise known as GVT, and it included doing 10 sets of 10 for two major lifts a day, followed by several auxiliary lifts. I tried to do this for 5 days of the week, and as you can probably imagine, I would feel so sore the next day, I could barely walk or even sit down, much less work up the energy to go to the gym 2 days in a row. Then my friend Alex, who I'm actually going to bring on the show next week, told me about BCAAs. And the basic idea is that it's believed that the pain felt from muscle soreness is caused by tiny tears in the muscles that result from exercise. And BCAAs have been found to decrease an enzyme that is linked to this muscle damage and has been shown in studies to reduce muscle fatigue in patients compared to a placebo group. There are also little negative effects of BCAAs to have been found, but there are some side effects, including fatigue, loss of coordination, and stomach problems. I personally didn't have any of these negative effects when I started taking BCAAs, and I did find that they were able to reduce my muscle soreness, and I was able to continue doing the GVT program and work out 5 days a week. So I thought that was pretty impressive. The only other supplement I take besides BCAAs is the well-known whey protein. And as you may already know, whey protein is a byproduct of the cheese making process, and it contains many essential amino acids that are all helpful in increasing both muscle mass and strength. There is, however, such thing as too much protein, and whey has been shown to cause stomach problems for some users. So whey, like any supplement, should be used with caution and only after careful consideration and research. And that's kind of the main point of what we're trying to get across today in this debate. That before you decide to put any supplement in your body, you should make sure you do your own research and speak with your own doctors to see how this supplement will affect you personally. Maybe debate isn't the best word because it's going to be more of a discussion between two college students who've done their research on the matter. Hopefully, by the end of this discussion, you will get an idea of the pros and the cons of the various commonly used supplements out there, such as pre-workout, creatine, proteins, and more. It is important to remember that neither RJ, Marib, nor myself are experts or professionals on this subject matter, and you should always speak with a professional before taking any dietary supplements. This is also important to point out because the three of us all have access to the same sources and information that you do, so you could all do your own research in this subject matter yourself if you felt the need. Throughout this debate, whenever a research article or source is referenced, a citation will be included on your screens below so that you can then go and access this source and find out more information for yourself. However, we know that research can be difficult and even boring at times, so hopefully today we've done the hard part for you guys, and you can now just sit back, relax, and enjoy the debate. RJ, Marib, thank you both for being here today and taking the time to do all this research.
Thank you for
I,
having
I would like to start today off with creatine. Marib, would you like to start talking about what you found about creatine and the benefits?
Yep. So creatine, creatine helps us with our energy systems. So the way our body uses energy is we have ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate, stored in our cells. And to release energy, one phosphate molecule breaks off the ATP and gives us energy. So what's left is ADP, which is adenosine diphosphate. So where creatine comes in is creatine is also stored in our muscles, and each creatine is linked with the phosphate molecule, and that phosphate molecule will replenish the ADP and turn it back into ATP because ADP doesn't have as much energy as ATP. So if we can turn that ADP back into ATP, we'll have more energy. So creatine has been shown to improve the rate of strength gains, lean body mass gains, and has a positive effect on power output. As for the different types of creatines, all of them, for the most part, are just as effective as the others. So creatine monohydrate is the cheapest one, so it's best to stick with that. As for side effects, over 1,000 studies have been conducted since the 1990s, and this is the most well-researched supplement out there. And the only consistent side effect was weight gain. And the studies were done on people of all ages using low and high doses. One side effect, though, that people worry about is hair loss. Some people have started taking creatine and started balding. So the reason that happens is there was a study done in college-age rugby players where they took creatine for 3 weeks and their testosterone levels were measured. And their overall testosterone levels didn't increase, but there's this hormone called DHT, which is dihydrotestosterone, and that increased. And DHT, for men suffering from male pattern baldness, DHT accelerates the hair loss, but it also does things like make your beard grow and stuff. So if you're not suffering from male pattern baldness, like that's not in your genes, then DHT can be good for you if you want like a beard or something, you know. Last thing I want to say is about creatine is there is a such thing as non-responders. So not everyone is gonna reap the benefits of taking creatine. Non-responders typically have a low percentage of fast twitch or type 2 muscle fibers, and they already have an high initial creatine content in their muscles.
Interesting. Thank you very much. RJ, would you like to tell us now what you found on creatine and the possible negative effects?
Yeah, sure. Like Marip said, creatine is great for building muscle. I personally have used it for years. What is alarming though is, like Marip said, thousands of studies have been done on this. The fact of the matter is, like these studies are often short term, maybe a month. I've seen studies from 2 weeks, and the longest study I've seen was about 5 years, and that was one study. I'd say the average was just a couple months though. Um, Basically, When physicians are measuring kidney function, they typically use two markers. One is the glomerulus filtration rate, GFR. Um, and that's basically seeing how much your how much yeah, how much waste products, how many waste products that your kidneys can process out in a set period of time. And the other is creatinine. So creatinine is a waste product that the kidneys need to filter out. So when you're taking your blood test and you have creatinine in your blood, that means the kidneys aren't functioning properly. And so what I've heard individual stories about how, oh, I've been using creatine or pre-workouts and whatnot for 5 or 10 years, and now my doctor's saying that my kidney function is diminishing. And you go online, and all these studies are saying that no, creatine doesn't do anything to your kidneys. There's no evidence of this. Creatinine levels are in the normal range. But the fact of the matter is, these studies are usually no longer than 2 years. The one study I did find that was a 5 year study that Nick will post in the end of the podcast did show that there was elevated creatinine levels after 5 years. And like Nick was telling me actually before we started recording that physicians are often confused by this. But the fact of the matter is, if creatinine is a waste product and it's still in your blood, your kidneys aren't doing the job that they should be doing. And with GFR, I was pressed to find almost any studies at all about creatinine and GFR. And I don't know whether this isn't this needs to be funded by the scary thing is the FDA doesn't require any supplements to be approved before they're being sold. In fact, most supplements you take aren't FDA approved at all. Um, I think because of this, it could be the cause behind the lack of research,
Huh.
lack of proper research, actually.
That would definitely be an area of future research that would be interesting to explore. I want to ask Marib, do you know, is there an ideal amount of, I guess for anyone really, do you guys know the ideal amount of creatine? Like if someone is interested in starting to take it, what numbers should they be looking at? And the safe area
So
too?
so it really depends on your weight. Like someone who's 130 pounds is gonna require less than somebody who's like 230, you know?
Yeah.
So for most people, the safe range I would say is like between 3 to 5 grams, because not everyone's like 200 pounds plus, but 3 to 5 grams is good. So there's two ways people take it when they start taking it. They can go through a loading phase in which you take 20 grams every day for a week. It doesn't have to be 20 grams. It's just um, more than the 3 to 5 grams for the 1 week first, because your body is going to take all those 20 grams you give it, and it's going to store it, and the creatine content in your muscles is slowly going to increase. It doesn't happen overnight. So you can do that to make it faster, or you can just take 3 to 5 grams a day from the start, and it'll take longer, but you'll get the same effect. Your muscle creatine content will increase.
And I'd say a hard limit usually is around 10 grams. You don't want to take anything more than that.
More than 10.
Also,
Just to be safe, yeah. And um, he might have RJ might maybe was about to say this, but different supplements also have creatine in them. So you have to be careful if you're taking a creatine supplement, but then you're taking a post-workout that also has 5 grams of creatine in it. And then you're taking a protein. Some proteins include creatine in them. Yeah, just different supplements might have them. So it's if you're saying, oh, I'm only taking 5 grams of creatine from my creatine supplement, but then you have to look at your other supplements that you're taking to make sure that you're not ingesting too much creatine every day.
I think that's really important when people just generally buy like a whey protein mix at their grocery store or like their vitamin shop, and it's important to read the back and actually check what's actually in that you're putting in your body, if there's creatine, if there's BCAAs, anything like that. And kind of on that topic of protein or whey protein, that's kind of where I would like to switch the conversation to now. RJ, would you like to discuss what you found about proteins in general?
yeah, so I've found a lot of research that shows that high protein diets over time can have the same effect as creatine on your kidneys.
Mm.
The fact of the matter is that there's a lot of waste product that comes from digesting proteins, and your kidneys need to filter that stuff out. So even though your body is growing and your muscles are growing, your internal organs are they don't grow. And so it's just important to keep in mind that your internal organs can only handle so much muscle mass, and ridiculous amounts of muscle, while they might be like aesthetically pleasing or make you as an individual happy, that your body isn't made to. It's not healthy to have massive amounts of muscle. Your body can't handle. Like I want to say bodybuilders is like a prime example. Like by no means are bodybuilders like the healthiest individuals. They might be super lean at 2% body fat or whatever, but they're not healthy individuals by any standard.
Interesting. Maria, would you like to tell us what you found about protein in your research?
So I agree with that. You need to like limit your protein intake just in case, but um, for people who like, especially people who don't get enough protein in daily, protein powders can make a world of a difference, not only for your health, but if you're trying to gain muscle, because protein is essential to build your muscle. It repairs the damage that you do to your muscles when you work out. So there's a bunch of different type of proteins, but whey and casein are the best for muscle building because they have the highest essential amino acid content, and they're the best at stimulating muscle protein synthesis. Whey protein is fast digesting, whereas casein is slow digesting. So it would be better to take casein right before bed, and then take whey like before or after your workout. And another um, uh, good point to add with that is you can take whey and mix it in milk if you can have the calories, because milk has casein protein, and it's even better to mix the two because then you'll get the benefits from the fast digesting whey, but then the slow digesting casein protein will also sit in your stomach and slowly gradually build up that muscle protein synthesis. As for whey, there's three. I just want to mention there's three different types. Whey concentrate is like it's like 35 to 80% protein, and then the rest is like different stuff like carbs, fats. And then another type is whey isolate, which is 90% or more protein, and the other being carbs and fats. And then there's whey hydrolysate, which is it's like whey isolate, but it's broken down even more so that your body can more easily absorb it. So the way I like to explain it is I saw something online. It's like chicken thighs have protein, but they also have a lot of fat. And then there's chicken breast. Chicken thighs are like whey concentrate. Chicken breast is like whey isolate, where it's less fat and more protein for the amount of food you're eating. And then whey hydrolysate would be like ground chicken. It has the same amount of protein as the chicken breast. It doesn't have any more, but it's like more processed, more broken down. And from my research, whey doesn't harm the liver or kidneys unless there's pre-existing damage. So you might want to, well, that also, to RJ's point, you don't want to be eating too much, right? But then you should also make sure everything's in check before ingesting not only protein, but any supplement. Like they always say, talk to your doctor first before taking anything, which you really should do just because you don't want to jeopardize your health.
Exactly. I completely agree. So based on that, would you say for most people, would you recommend that the whey hydrolysate would be the most ideal form of whey to take?
No. So I forgot to mention this. Whey hydrolysate is the most expensive. So if you have the money and you want it, you can take it. But whey isolate is just as it's more than enough effective, but more cost effective than whey hydrolysate. But some people whey concentrate, you can debate about it. Like if it's if you have like, say you're trying to bulk or something, you need those excess calories. Some people might be like, I'll take the whey concentrate because I can use those carbs and fats because I'm trying to put on weight. And then somebody who's trying to maintain or cut would be like, I only want protein, so I'm going to take whey isolate. So then again, it depends on what you want, your goals.
I would say also, if you're someone that tends to put on muscle mass easily and has to cut a lot, or finds himself like needing to try to stay lean, hydrolyzed whey is probably your best bet. I think casein in your case would be um, like just extraneous. I don't think it makes much sense, especially people who tend to build muscle mass pretty easy tend to get the most out of their diet anyways. I think for somebody is relatively like skinny, has always been kind of struggling to put on muscle, um, whey concentrate is probably your best bet. And I'd add casein right before you go to sleep at night and in the morning when you start your day would help you like crazy, almost more than any other supplement.
I know I personally, I take casein right before I go to bed in the form of cottage cheese, actually. I know some people think that's weird, but I love cottage cheese. So, but that's high in casein, so it's a good thing to get in right before bed. But I kind of like to pivot the conversation now I want to focus on caffeine and pre-workouts. RJ, would you like to discuss what you found on these supplements?
Sure. So honestly, the typical cup of coffee or tea, you're between um 60 milligrams to 120 milligrams of caffeine. And you find in a lot of these pre-workouts that they're exceeding 300 milligrams of caffeine, 350, 360. I've seen even like 400 milligrams sometimes. Um, Over time, studies shown that excess caffeine will cause heart rate variability and increased heart rate.
But Marib, would you kind of like to go and talk about what you found on caffeine or pre-workouts in general?
So when I was looking at pre-workouts, right, there's so many different formulas, blends, um, and all that. There's like too much to just talk about right now in the few minutes that we have. So I decided to focus on caffeine because from what I read, that will have the biggest benefit um, in your pre-workout. So the way caffeine works, right, is your brain has adenosine receptors, and what happens is the same adenosine we were talking about earlier with the adenosine triphosphate. Once it loses all its phosphate molecules, it's going to go and it's going to attach to these receptors, and these receptors are responsible for making you tired. You feel tired, fatigue, lose focus, you get sleepy, etc. So what caffeine does is caffeine will block those receptors. It'll go take the place of the adenosine in those receptors, but it won't have the same, you won't get tired and lose focus and all that. So you'll be more alert, you'll be more focused, you'll have more energy. That's why people take caffeine. But the problem is that your body, it's meant to function a sort of way, right? So what happens is if you keep introducing that caffeine into your system and it's taking up those receptors, your body's going to produce new receptors to handle the adenosine that needs a place to bind, right? So your body is going to create more and more receptors. So you're going to need to take more and more caffeine to feel the same effects. And that would be like the most important thing I want to state with caffeine is you have to be careful how you're taking it. I think RJ would agree. If you take it right, you don't take too much. Every month or a few weeks, you cycle off of it because it is addictive. If you take it the right way, the benefits are amazing. It helps increase training volume, helps increase muscular endurance, reduces your perceived effort. And that's just talking about working out. The benefits it has on energy, alertness, focus, that's a whole different game that can help with your schoolwork, your anything. But so talking about that, I already mentioned you need to cycle off of it because you build a tolerance to it. Um, Also, like he said with the pre-workout, they have way more caffeine than stuff like tea or coffee. Um, I know Nick drinks coffee every day. He's addicted is
every morning.
an understatement. But that's fine from coffee because, well, you still should cycle off of coffee, but drinking coffee you won't be able to consume as much caffeine instantly. Taking a scoop of like 300 grams versus drinking like 16 ounces of coffee, you're going to get tired of coffee, or you won't drink more than that. But taking these powders can be really dangerous. And there is such a thing as an insurmountable tolerance, right? So that means you keep building up your tolerance and you keep ingesting more caffeine and more, but you get to a certain point where increasing the dose you take doesn't have any more effect on you. So then you're just going to lose the benefits of taking caffeine. You're abusing it. After all, it is a drug, and drugs can help, drugs can be useful, but when you start abusing them or not taking them the right way, then they can hurt just as much as they can help.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Caffeine is like one of the most addictive drugs and most overly used drugs. Like it's so easy to get. And when you're taking it in coffee or something like that, you kind of realize because it's like, oh, I've had 4 or 5 cups of coffee today. You realize how much caffeine you just took. But when you take a shot of like powder and you don't read the label and you don't understand how much caffeine was just in that tiny little thing of powder, you can really overdo it.
Yeah. Also,
Just
I wanted to mention you should start off like really low. Like
mm,
Nick, if he was taking a caffeine as a pre-workout, he'd need way more than me. I drink tea like every now and then, so 100 milligrams, 150 even, it's more than enough caffeine for me to feel the benefits. But Nick might have to take like 300 grams
mm,
just because he's used to drinking caffeine all the time. Um, Last
just
thing I want to say about it, um, don't take it for that reason. Don't take it every day or every workout. And then the half life is 3 to 5 hours, so you should also not take it right before bed, or you should wait like 6 to 10 hours before bed, because if it messes with your sleep, which is way more important than any supplement, it's also going to harm what you're trying to do. You're trying to get gains or maintain your health or make your health better. It's just going to harm it. So make sure you're not taking it too early before bed. Sorry, you can go now.
so just to add to what Marib was saying about caffeine being helpful for academics, if you're someone that is in college or high school or whatever, and you're working out in the morning and you're taking 300 milligrams of caffeine at 6 a.m., like I did with my roommate for 2 years at Stony Brook, what we found was that you're taking that at 6 a.m. by like 9 or 10 o'clock, you are dead because that crash is so hard. Um, Another thing is anhydrous caffeine, which is like synthetic, like lab made caffeine, tends to be the come down on that tends to be a little bit more painful and severe. Natural caffeine tends to be a little bit smoother.
interesting. Okay, well, I guess
Speaking, one more thing I forgot
maybe.
to mention. One more thing. There's a study that was done on rugby players and sleep deprivation, and it was shown in that study that um, the people taking caffeine, even if they were sleep deprived, they could have a workout just as good as someone who wasn't taking caffeine but had adequate sleep. So maybe on days you couldn't sleep last night, or you got in late and you only got what, 4 hours of sleep, and you want to have just a good workout, taking like 100, 150, 200, depending on how tolerant you are to caffeine, that can help maintain your workout level compared to other days where you would have had sleep.
Interesting. Good point. And then kind of merging off of caffeine specifically, but more pre-workout in general. RJ, would you like to share with us what you found about the carcinogenic parts of some pre-workouts?
Yeah. So just reading through, I did a quick literature search on Google Scholar, and there's just tons of art like studies on how artificial flavorings and dyes are carcinogens that can cause various types of cancer. And honestly, it'd be way too long of a process for me to go through each one individually. But um, like everything else we were talking about, we're not experts. So you guys should do your own research and honestly look into these things. Um, there's so many different flavorings and dyes that are being used. I know like C4 especially because I've taken it over the years. Like you have flavors like Sour Patch Bros or like blue raz or whatever. These aren't like naturally occurring things. These are made in the lab. They're honestly they're not great for you. And just do your own research on it really.
Yeah.
One more thing actually before while we're on the topic of cancer. So like I said before, all supplements don't need FDA approval. You don't need a FDA approval at all if you want to sell your product. Um, so my friends actually had an experience when I was in high school. Some of the guys on my football team were taking this supplement called Pre-Gym by Jim Stefani, and the actual pre-workout was phenomenal. But 3 weeks after they started taking it, between like 2 weeks and a month after they started taking it, a couple of the guys had noticed their testicles had actually shrank.
Mm.
Um, and when we were reading the box in the back of it, in a little white print, it basically said state of California has found this to cause testicular cancer. And so when you're consuming something, make sure you're reading everything on the label before you put it in your body.
I think that's crazy. I think that's a really good kind of summarization of all this is that before you take any of these supplements that you're putting in your body, it's important to read the label, do your own research, find out what research has been done on those supplements, and if they found any side effects like testicular cancer or other cancers or other kidney failure or liver failure, things like that. And I think that's a really important thing to point out. But that's just about the amount of time that we have today. I would like to, if you guys have any closing remarks, overarching statements you'd like to make, Marib, you want to go on first?
I think the most important thing to remind people is what you guys said. One, we're not experts, and two, do your own research. And RJ, you're like, you put on muscle and weight more easy, right?
Yep.
So I think this was a good perspective between me and RJ because um, my experience with supplements is more, I struggle to put on weight. I'm like um, just at 6 feet, always been lanky, always not had a lot of muscle. So my thought process behind supplements has always been, how can I put on more weight? How can I get more muscle? How can I stop being so tall and lanky? But RJ has a different perspective with it, more like focused on maintaining or cutting, different stuff like that. So I think it's a good balance to have us both on where we can bring our different perspectives together. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, with me, I've been taking supplements since I was like 15, mainly for football. When you're young and you want to build up as much muscle as quick as possible, and then afterwards, I was switched my focus to try to stay lean, like Marib said. But honestly, with my all my experiences, the biggest thing that I could take away from this is like you guys should take away from this is please do your own research. Again, we're not experts. I just want to reiterate that one more time. We're not experts. Do your own research, figure out what you need as an individual, and go from there. Read the labels on everything, and please just don't walk into GNC or Vitamin Shop and ask them what the best thing for you is because they would have no idea.
They're trying to make money at the same time. So
Yeah, they're just making
whatever they can sell you.
And and also supplements can do a lot for you in terms of building muscle and get to what you want aesthetically. But it's really also somewhat of a trade-off between longevity and your physique.
Exactly. So important to read the labels, do your own research, and understand what it does for you in particular. Like Marib said, I've also struggled to put on muscle over the years. So the supplements that I'm going to be looking at are going to be different than what RJ is looking at, and honestly, probably different than what Marib's looking at too. So it's really a personal preference. You got to find what works for you. But I think that's about all the time we have today. So thank you both so much for coming on the very first episode of Squawking with Seagull. Um,
Hey,
yeah, it's been an
My
absolute
pleasure.
blast. And to our viewers, thank you guys for watching the very first episode of Squawking with Seagull. I think we all truly hope you've all learned something today and have taken something from this and are now able to make your own decisions on whether or not to take your supplements and also what supplements to take. But again, as I said, the most important thing is that we're not professionals and we've done all this research on our own, which means you guys have no excuse. You can do this research yourselves, use Google Scholar, PubMed, whatever, and find out what's best for you. And as always, if you guys have any questions about anything that we've discussed today, feel free to contact me through my Instagram DMs, or you can email me at seagull.strength@gmail.com. And make sure you share this with your friends and family if you've enjoyed what you've seen today. Thanks, guys, and happy eating. Hi, guys. Thanks again for watching the very first episode of Squawking with Seagull. I do truly hope you guys have enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, you want to make sure you come back next week for the muscle segment of Squawking with Seagull. I'm going to be sitting down with my good friend, Alex Berry, otherwise known as @theproteinbender on Instagram. And we're going to be discussing all things lifting. Some of the topics that we get into are where to go when you have questions, what you should bring to the gym in your gym bag, and finally, some wise words of motivation from the man himself, Alex Berry. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram @Seagull_strength. Or you can visit my website, www.seagullstrength.com, for more great fitness-related content. Thanks, guys, and I hope you have a fantastic day.